Welcome to New York's #2 sports show. The Yankees win the series against the Milwaukee Brewers, and they actually score 15 runs in Game 2 and 15 runs in Game 3. They very well could have had the sweep. They lose a tough extra inning game in Game 1 in 11 innings, and the Yankees, it's really been a major struggle. Since 2022, they're 3-15 in road extra inning games. I mean, that's just too big of a sample size to ignore. But the good thing is the bats completely explode in the next two games. And then look, even the first game, they did hit 3 homers. So it's not as if that was the problem there. So we'll probably dissect Game 1 the most just naturally because it was the closest. And there was really one, in my opinion, very controversial decision that, may have been wise in the long run, but it was Clay Holmes being taken out in the 10th inning after pitching a pretty quick and efficient 9th. But we'll get into that when we get there. But hey, Yankees 19-10 now. They are in first place in the AL East, tied in the loss column with Baltimore, who actually also lost a series to Oakland, and in their case, at home as well. So 2 out of 3 Oakland goes to Baltimore wins. So what do you know? The Yankees actually, it felt like a lost series for the Yankees. It was actually a split. But now the Yankees will head to Baltimore for a very big 4-game series. Definitely the biggest series to date this season. And it really is looking as if the main competition in the division, not much of a surprise, although there are other competitive teams in the AL East, it will be Baltimore, I would think. Boston, they've actually done a very nice job, surprisingly. But you look at the rosters, and the Orioles are definitely going to be, I think, the biggest barrier to the Yankees winning this division. But I am, happy by what I saw. Pretty much the Yankee lineup, pretty much top down, all contributed in some way. Of course, some more than others. But what was really good to see, and I wasn't sure that it would I didn't really think it would happen, was Boone made a little bit of a lineup switch. One that helped and one that I would stick with. So basically what happened, the main thing, and they want to stick with the righty-lefty, so on and so forth. They want to stick with that. And I guess, to be fair, we don't fully know, because it did work out where I believe Milwaukee had 3 right-handed starters. And that really will be the case when you look at Baltimore. Grayson Rodriguez, Dean Kramer, Corbin Burns. I don't think they announced their Game 4 start of Baltimore, that is. So this will continue. So we may not know what it looks like against lefties. But versus righties, Alex Verdugo goes to 4 in the lineup. And Stanton 5, Rizzo 6, Glaber 7th. I like that. Definitely for now. So really, the big thing is Verdugo moving up, Rizzo moving down. I don't know if Glaber had batted 7th at any point. He may have, but it hadn't been much. So that's something to, make mention of. But it's more so the fact that Verdugo moves up behind Judge and Rizzo moves down. And hey, Rizzo, especially in Game 3, but everyone did well. I think Rizzo had a pretty good Game 2 also. So, yeah, that was good. And the big thing was that Verdugo earned to be moved up. And you know what? Actually, this happened after Game 1. So Game 1 was still the Rizzo batting 4th, Verdugo batting 6th. They made the change after Verdugo homered in the first game, and Rizzo went 0 for 5. So good to see a little bit of a tweak that I think was beneficial. So that was good. Don't believe there were any transactions of any real importance going into this series against the Brewers. Now, Milwaukee came into this series 16-8. And now they leave at 17-10. I don't think that they will keep up that pace. I think that could they be a playoff team? Yeah, certainly. But I don't think that they're, again, they were 16-8 coming in. That's not a pace that they're going to keep up. So, Yanks hit a good amount of home runs in this series, but just in general, looked a lot better. Although Game 1, it was a bit home run or bust in Game 1. whereas the next 2 games was a different story. So let's get into this series. The Yankees are actually now 7-1-1 in overall series, and that still stings. To split versus Oakland, it really should be 8-1, but that's what happened. And not only that, but they're 4-0 in rubber games. So I like that. And that improves based on this result. And yeah, so we've seen a lot of that where you'll have what had been happening, I guess, more so was the team winning the first 2 games, typically the Yankees, then maybe the other team winning the last game. And this one, it's, Milwaukee winning the first, Yankees winning the next 2. I guess what I'm trying to say is it hasn't been so much of alternating like win-loss win or loss-win-loss. It's kind of had its, back-to-back wins somewhere within the series. So Luis Seal on the mound for the Yanks in this one, and not a great start for him, but kind of in a different way, where only 2 walks in five innings for him is not really bad at all. But it was more of the fact he gave up a couple of homers, and he had been doing well in terms of limiting the home run ball. So yeah, he was hit harder than normal. So not a great outing for him, going 5 innings, 5 runs. And we'll talk, it's interesting. This was a series where Carlos Rodon did well. And look, you got to give him credit. He's definitely looking a lot better. I wouldn't say overpowering necessarily, but just doing the job. Marcus Stroman really had a bad game 3. So and then even I'd say more so Stroman struggled. But the bullpen really pitched pretty well overall. So we'll get into that. Like, they pitched well here until Michael Tonkin. And I guess that's kind of who I should have mentioned. Tonkin, there's the transaction that is actually of note. So I take back what I said. Tonkin, he was claimed, I believe off waivers from the Mets, maybe. He had bounced around a bunch this year. I think he had like maybe multiple stints with the Mets. He was somewhere else in between, I think. This was someone that he was I think he'd be most known for his time with the Braves. And Cody Morris, who had been up for maybe about a week or less, he ended up being sent down. I don't think he ever came in. He had warmed up, but never actually appeared in a game for the Yanks. But yeah, anyway, the Yankees jump out to the early lead. Juan Soto homers. His 7th homer. It's a homer to left center field. The starting pitcher for the Milwaukee Brewers was Colin Ray, who was not good. Yeah, he was definitely a lot worse than the bullpen that came after him. The Brewers' pen certainly did the job, shutting down the Yankees, but Colin Ray, not so much. But Soto homers, makes it 1-0 Yankees. Then Verdugo homers in the 2nd, so now it's 2-0. However, in the bottom of the 2nd, a 2-run homer for Joey Ortiz, who had a great series. I mean, it was his first homer of the season for Ortiz. He was getting on base. He might have walked 5 times in the 3rd game, which seems ridiculous to say, but I think that's actually what it was. But yeah, he was definitely a threat for Milwaukee. That tied it up at 2. And then from there in the 3rd, Milwaukee takes the lead. And it would be with 2 outs, a single by Rhys Hoskins, then a 2-run homer by Blake Perkins. So a couple of 2-run homers allowed by Luis Seal makes it 4-2, but a good response in the 4th. A 2-out rally for the Yankees as Waldo Cabrera singles, Austin Wells walks, and then Trent Grisham finally gets his first hit as a Yankee, and it's a 3-run homer. So a couple pitches before that, he hit one that just went foul that would have been a 3-run homer, but he does it there against his former team. He came up with the Milwaukee Brewers, and so the Yankees take a 5-4 lead there. But then in the 6th, this is another situation where Boone probably should have pulled the plug on Heel, left him in, and it did cost them. Gary Sanchez, the former Yankee, gets a leadoff double. Then they take him out, and Ron Marinaccio comes on, and Marinaccio has actually been pretty solid since coming up. However, it's a Terang ground out that moves Sanchez over to 3rd, and then an Ortiz sac fly that ties it up. So a little bit of small ball helps Milwaukee tie the game. Marinaccio gets an out in the 7th. They bring on Dennis Santana, who finishes the inning. A frustrating double. And at this point, so Judge really ended off the series very strong. But in game 1, 0 for 4, couple strikeouts, and a big double play after that Soto single in the 8th. So we go to the bottom of the 8th. Caleb Ferguson is able to pitch a scoreless 8th inning. We go to the 9th, and very frustrating, Glaber swings at ball 4. So Torres, with a really rough night, goes 0 for 5. At that point, his average dropped to 192, but he makes some pretty big contributions as well in this series. So we'll kind of more run through game 2 and 3 a little more quickly than this game 1. But what's frustrating was that Brian Hudson was on the mound, and he was having some trouble with his control because Glaber should have walked. Then Verdugo does walk, but then he's caught stealing. And then Oswaldo Cabrera walks. So you could have had maybe bases loaded, no out. It ends up being a much different inning, and we go to the bottom of the 9th, tied 5-5. Clay Holmes is able to pitch a 1-2-3 inning, including a couple of strikeouts. And Clay Holmes only threw 10 pitches after only throwing 9 pitches in the last 5 days before that. I know that he had warmed up one of the days, but still, I know he has had a heavy workload. I know that this bullpen is decimated by injuries, but I would have liked, given the situation, given that the Yankees did take the lead, we'll talk in the 10th, at least have Holmes start the 10th inning, because it's not like you're bringing in, I'm trying to think of really, it's tough to say because this bullpen doesn't really have the best quality, although they've kind of pieced together. Let's use Jonathan Loaisiga. Let's say Jonathan Loaisiga was healthy and you were bringing him in. Okay, fine, I can understand that. Instead, you're bringing in Michael Tonkin, making his Yankee debut. We'll get there, but I really totally disagree with that decision by Boone. But Giancarlo Stanton pinch hits for Trent Grisham, and we know notoriously Stanton's not a good pinch hitter, but he gets the job done with a key RBI double to give the Yankees a 6-5 lead. But here is where they fuck up, because you got to get that other run. I always say 1 run is bare minimum you need in extra innings in that top half of the inning. Really, you want to get a second. Taylor Trammell pinch runs for Stanton, and then Volpe strikes out looking. So not a great, that was the key. Volpe striking out there. Then Soto flies out. They intentionally walk Judge, and Rizzo grounds out. So only 6-5. I would have liked for Clay Holmes to have stayed in there, but they bring in Michael Tonkin, making his Yankee debut. A really tough spot for him to come into. And to be honest with you, he didn't even really do that bad. I think it was first pitch, Jose Trevino passed ball. And that's the other thing, too. It was a bad job by Trevino, but I don't even think he's probably never even caught Michael Tonkin. That was probably literally the first time that, that was a thing. And so that puts you in a tough spot immediately, and Willy Adames hits a game-tying RBI single. However, while not pretty, Tonkin is able to get out of the 10th, keeping the game alive, tied at 6. Jahmai Jones then pinch runs for Anthony Rizzo in the 11th, and that would kind of prove costly. Now, originally, you have a Glaber Torres flyout that moves Jones over to third, but then Verdugo, who has been good lately, and he seems to come up in so many situations with runners on. And I would say that more than not, he does come through, but there has been a lot of times he doesn't, and in this case, he doesn't, and he grounds it to the pitcher, who throws Jones out at home. And, I understand being aggressive there, but I could also understand just staying back and, living to fight another day. So now no more runner in scoring position, and Oswaldo grounds out to end the inning. So a bit of questionable base running. And as I say, if you're not going to score in the top of the inning, you're going to be in trouble. Michael Tonkin remains on in the 11th inning. Bryce Terang flies out, moves Owen Miller over to third, and then Joey Ortiz, who really, really, he was the guy from Milwaukee, gets a walk-off RBI single. So really a tough loss there. And at that point, you got to remember, the Yankees had then lost 2 in a row, 3 out of their last 5. So, things weren't feeling great, but they really turned it around in games 2 and 3. This was, I don't remember exactly how long it had been, but you got to imagine, it's unique to score 15 runs in back-to-back games. It had been a long time. I think it's maybe only happened I think the stat was it's maybe only happened about 5 times in Yankee history, and that would add up because, not easy to do. And what was funny also is that you had position players come in for Milwaukee, the pitching. Owen Miller on Saturday and Jake Bauers, the former Yankee, on Sunday. And then Jose Trevino actually in a winning, you don't normally see a position player come in when you're winning, but he actually pitched, gave up a couple of runs in the 9th inning for the Yankees. So a wacky couple of days in Milwaukee, but it worked out for the Yankees. So, game 2, Carlos Rodon. You know what? I take back what I said before. This stat line is way better because the Yankees took such a big lead. I kind of, wasn't even really focusing on it too much. But wow, 6 innings, 2 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. That's great. That's really great. He's the 2.48 ERA, like that a lot. And hey, you know what? The WHIP down to 1.19. Only 30 strikeouts in 32 2/3, even after this really good strikeout performance. But hey, that's all right. This has been a successful first 6 starts for Rodon. And hey, just as recently as like 2 starts ago, I was very down on him. So let's just take it for what it is. And it's been mostly positive for Rodon. In a rotation that has had a lot of struggles and has had, a tough time getting length. Hey, this is 6 innings for Rodon, and he really could have gone, let's see. Well, he was at 93 pitches, so he may have been done either way. But the game before he went 7, so that's good stuff. But, for the Yankees, let me see. Alex Verdugo, huge game. He goes 3 for 5 with 4 RBIs. He had a 3-run homer. Who else? Giancarlo Stanton. Although to be fair, Stanton hits a 3-run homer off of a position player, Owen Miller. So I'll take that with a little grain of salt. It's really Rizzo. And Rizzo went off in games 2 and 3. Rizzo homers in both games. And I'll just say it right now. Rizzo hit his 300th Major League MLB homer. And he's had a lot of success, I think, against Milwaukee, having been with the Chicago Cubs for so long. He had some pretty gaudy numbers, at least from a home run standpoint, against the Brewers. So, yeah, Rizzo goes 3 for 4 with a couple of RBIs. Gleyber Torres, he had a really big bases-clearing double. So he goes 3 for 6 with 3 RBIs. So those are like the real stars of the game, if you will. But also Aaron Judge, not to be outdone. He was 2 for 4 with a couple of walks. He got on with a walk as well. So, yeah, mostly good. It was only Volpe actually was 0 for 4. But he would then come through on his birthday, his 23rd birthday, in game 3 with a 3-run homer. So to me, it felt like everyone kind of got in on the action. But yeah, for Milwaukee, it was definitely a major struggle for Joe Ross, the former Washington National pitcher. He gave up 6 earned runs in 5 innings. Got beat around pretty good. So yeah, first inning, Verdugo in that first time batting cleanup for the Yankees, he hits a 3-run homer. His 4th homer of the year gives the Yankees a 3-0 lead. Then Rhys Hoskins would hit a solo shot for Milwaukee, but that would be all they would get off of Rodon. So it's 3-1 at that point. And then in the 3rd inning, Gleyber Torres needed this badly. Really, really badly. Bases loaded, 1 out. He gets a 3-run double. And that was really, I hope that helps. For Gleyber, he doesn't look great up there at the plate, but hey, maybe this is what he needed. Yankees have a 6-1 lead. We go to the 5th inning, and in the 5th, it would be an RBI single for Oswaldo Cabrera, so he continues to do his thing. And let's see, how many are, I want to say that Oswaldo has a fairly impressive number of RBIs. 16 RBIs. That's pretty damn good. The other stats are starting to drop off a little bit for him, but it's a big improvement over last season. Let's put it that way. Yanks take a 7-1 lead there. We go to the 6th, and new pitcher is on for Milwaukee, and Aaron Judge greets him with a 2-run homer. Look, it wasn't the biggest home run. The Yankees pretty much had the game somewhat in the bag at that point, but that makes it 9-1 Yankees. Then a few batters later, Anthony Rizzo, he hits a 2-run homer, his 4th homer of the year, to give the Yankees an 11-1 lead. Let's see, Luke Weaver comes on. Let's talk about Luke Weaver. Weaver has been pretty good. And this was like a low leverage situation, but he goes 2 scoreless innings, allows 1 hit, 1 walk, and 2 strikeouts. So for Weaver, his ERA sits at 3.57, and you gotta love the whip, 0.79. So very, very efficient. Only 14 strikeouts, but you know what? I'm all right with that. The Yankees have always been known for having a pretty heavy strikeout staff, whether that be rotation or more so bullpen. Not as much, and that may serve them well. Weaver does a good job. And let's go to the 9th inning. That is where Owen Miller. Owen Miller actually came in the 8th inning. Pitches a scoreless eighth inning, and he comes back out for the ninth, and not as great there. It's a sac fly for Alex Verdugo, and then a 3-run homer for Giancarlo Stanton. Just not fair for Miller, as Stanton hits that 3-run homer, his 6th homer of the year, gives the Yankees a 15-1 lead, and then Jose Trevino comes on, and he would give up a couple of runs. Gary Sanchez gets an RBI double, Joey Ortiz with an RBI double, but ultimately Trevino gives up a couple of runs, but the Yankees win 15-3. And then we go to the rubber game. And to that point, the Yankees had been 3-0 on the season in rubber games, but due to this win, they improved to 4-0 in rubber games, which is definitely something you like to see. And Marcus Stroman struggled, and it all kind of came to a head in the 5th inning. He was able, and he's good at this, of kind of getting out of trouble, wiggling out of jams, but not to be in the 5th to the point where that's a pretty ugly line. So where he was kind of the most consistent starter to begin with, now it's kind of changing when you look at the whole rotation. You don't feel that way anymore. And I want to look at his stats too. In this game, he goes 4 innings, 6 hits, 4 runs, 5 walks, 4 strikeouts. So the ERA 3.69, which is fine, but the WHIP is now 1.42, which I don't love. But he's been notorious for having, higher side whips, but low ERA. Because like I said, he does just kind of maneuver his way out of it. But anyway, the Yankees are able to overcome it. But we'll talk about a big moment that happens in the 6th. Let's get there first. For Milwaukee, it was, who is it on the mound? Tobias Myers, who was okay, I guess. He gave up a couple of homers, did him in more than anything. And then the Milwaukee bullpen was horrendous in this one, but they kind of caught a bad break too. So Aaron Judge homers, and in this game, Volpe hits a big 3-run homer. Judge really does well, now putting his statistics in a little bit of a better place, as he is now batting .211. Which is better, but it's Rizzo who really was the big one. 4 for 4, 3 runs, 2 RBIs. It's funny, so early in the season, and you still are, right? I mean, what are they, 1/6 of the way through the season? One huge game can change everything, because now Rizzo's stats are looking so much better. 277 batting average, 787 OPS. It's such a difference. So, but yeah, Judge with a 441-foot homer in the 1st inning to give the Yankees a 1-0 lead. And so that's interesting. Soto homers in the 1st inning in game 1, Verdugo game 2, Judge game 3. So the Yankees had that 1-0 lead for a while, actually, until the 5th. And in the 5th, it would be a 2-out, 3-run homer to the opposite field for Anthony Volpe, his 3rd homer of the season, and on his birthday, his 23rd birthday. So very easy power. That was a very impressive homer. Gives the Yankees a 4-0 lead, but then Stroman really fucks it up in the 5th. Very bad job by him. It's a leadoff walk to Sal Frelick. An RBI double for Willy Adames, and then former Yankee Jake Bauers with a no doubt about it 3-run homer. So that ties it up at 4. And then Stroman, they leave him in for one more batter. He walks Gary Sanchez on 4 pitches, and he's out of there. So Ron Marinaccio comes on and is able to get out of the inning with the game still tied. So good job by Marinaccio, who you can tell is being trusted more and more. So then this is the big inning, the 6th inning. Abner Uribe comes on. Aaron Judge hits leadoff walk, and then Alex Verdugo hits a tailor-made 4-6-3 double play. However, they get the out at second, but Willy Adames' throw hits Aaron Judge, who is the base runner. It hits his, the sort of oven mitt-looking thing on his right hand, and that impedes the ability for there to be a double play, which there would have been. And the Yankees caught a break. Now, was it fully intentional by Judge? I don't know for sure, but I'm a Milwaukee fan. I'm upset about it, for sure. And Pat Murphy, the Brewer manager, was upset. But what's crazy is the damage it does. Because, hey, maybe it could have been a nothing burger. And, they end up giving up no runs. But it does. Giancarlo Stanton pops out. So, in theory, the inning should have been over at that point. And here what happens from there. Rizzo walk, Gleyber Torres RBI single. So, Gleyber, who didn't have the biggest game, really, gets a very big hit. That was, to break that tie in the 6th inning. So give Gleyber credit, makes it 5-4. Then Cabrera walks. Then Jose Trevino 2-run single. He's been really, really good. He's batting 280 now. So Trevi, who got off to a slow start, really picking it up, makes it 7-4. So Uribe's out. Elvis Peguero comes in, and it's a wild pitch that scores Oswaldo Cabrera. Then Volpe walks. Then an RBI single by Juan Soto makes it 9-4. And then after a double steal, Volpe to third, Soto to second, Judge gets, it all comes back around to Judge, who gets a 2-run single, make it 11-4. So that play cost the Brewers 7 runs. So, it turned the game. So the Yankees kind of catch a break, makes it 11-4, changes the complexion completely. Marinaccio gets an out in the 6th. They take him out for Ian Hamilton, who, again, Hamilton does not look good at all. He doesn't. Gets into some trouble, actually allows a bases-loaded walk to Blake Perkins. It goes against the ledger of Ron Marinaccio, kind of unfair. And then Bryce Terang lines out to Judge with the bases loaded. But then in the 7th inning, the Yankees would really break it open against Jansen Junk, who's a former Yankee prospect, actually. And you get an Oswaldo Cabrera RBI single to make it 12-5, a Jose Trevino sac fly to make it 13-5. Michael Tonkin actually comes on in the 7th, pitches a 1-2-3 7th inning, and then in the 8th, Anthony Rizzo would hit a 2-run homer, his 5th homer of the season. He has 4 homers within less than a week, something like that. He's got 4 homers in the last 5 or 6 days. 15-5, it's his 300th homer of his career. Congrats to him. And he's looking better. So that would be really big to get him going. And you know what? Leave him batting 6th. I'm fine with it. Let Verdugo stay where he is. I would not change this. So it makes it 15-5, like I said. Michael Tonkin would start the 8th. And then Caleb Ferguson would finish the 8th with a couple of strikeouts. 9th inning, Jake Bauers comes on and pitches for Milwaukee. It actually ends up not giving up any runs. Funny enough. And then the bottom of the 9th, Victor Gonzalez. I wasn't sure if the Yankees would go position player again. They don't. They go Victor Gonzalez. And, it wasn't pretty, but he's able to pitch a scoreless 9th inning. Yankees win the series and win this one 15-5. So back-to-back days, 15-3, then 15-5. And now the Yankees will head to Baltimore to take on the Orioles in what should be a pretty interesting series. Let's talk about the pitching probables for each game. Clark Schmidt versus Grayson Rodriguez. And, that'll be an interesting one for sure. Grayson Rodriguez really was great for the Orioles down the stretch last season. This year, not so great, but he's capable of definitely shutting the Yanks down, no doubt about it. Game 2, it'll be Nestor Cortez versus Dean Kramer. And the Yankees have seen a lot of Kramer over the last few years. But, for him, the ERA might be a little bit misleading, actually. I think that, when you look at his stats, it's a little bit better than that. And then game 3 will be between Luis Gil and Corbin Burns. So that one should definitely be tough. Although Luis Gil is obviously, capable of, if he can keep the walks down, he can, be very effective. And then game 4, we still don't know the Orioles starter, but we do know it'll be Carlos Rodon for the Yankees. So Yankees 19-10, Orioles 17-10. And for me, I would be thrilled to take 3 out of 4. But, if they split the 4 games, that's where I'm kind of all right with it. Whereas the previous series, they split the 4 against Oakland. That sucked. You didn't want that. But here against Baltimore, a good team, Yankees are on the road. I'm not going to go crazy if they split. That's all right. And I'll be really happy if they can win 3 or 4. So Yankees, the bats explode. And hopefully they can carry that with them into Baltimore as they will finish up the 7-game road trip with a 4-game series against the Orioles.